So, like a year ago, I started working at a new job, and at this job, there'll be time where I am stocking shelves. And when I stock shelves, I like to listen to YouTube videos and watch YouTube videos and be a little baby on his phone watching videos while my boss doesn't know. And so the videos that I started watching at work were Five Nights at Freddy's videos, like talking about the lore and everything. And like I grew up liking that series and always had it in the back of my mind. I'm like, yeah, I like Five Nights at Freddy's. I kind of fuck with the lore and everything and the theories. So I started doing that probably back in September. It's about almost August 2026 now. So I'm going to see if I can accurately like recite the FNAF timeline like off the top of my head. This is my own opinion. This is what I believe. This is based on theories that I watch and that I see. So it's probably different than what you think, but I don't care, honestly, because in my own little bubble, I'm the only person that exists. Therefore, I am always right. So let's just get into it. Let me see. In the early 70s, Edwin Murray, I want to say it's the early 70s, he became the owner of Murray's Costume Manor because his dad died. Hold on, let me turn this off. And because Edwin's dad died, he like became the CEO out of nowhere, and he wasn't ready for that. And so he started making these inventions. He made a thing called the Cleanovac, and the Cleanovac is like a little robot that that can clean. It's like a Roomba, and basically it was a big, huge success. So Edwin Murray, he has a son and a wife. His son's name is David, and his wife's name is Fiona. And Fiona designs these costumes that they sell and that they rent out, which makes sense because it's called Murray's Costume Manor. And so Murray's Costume Manor starts working with Fazbear Entertainment. I'm not sure when. I want to say it's most likely the mid-70s. And Fazbear Entertainment commissions new animatronics and mascot suits and has them work on something called the Fazbear Project or the Fazbear Initiative. I don't remember. Oh my god, it's hot in here. Let me just turn this on. And so Edwin starts working on this Fazbear Initiative. While he's working on the Fazbear Initiative, Fazbear is slowly taking away all of the employees and Fazbear like is poaching a bunch of shit from Murray's Costume Manor. Basically, William Afton is like telling these employees, hey, if you steal this stuff from Murray's Costume Manor, like these blueprints and whatever, and come work for us, you'll get a pay raise and you'll get to work the same job and it'll be awesome. And the employees are like, okay, sick, that sounds great, I'm gonna do that. So then yada 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 stuff happens. I'm not really sure. I haven't played Secret of the Mimic, but I know it from watching videos. Fiona Murray goes to help out with this thing called Fall Fest, which is something going on. That's like an event that goes on in wherever the games take place, most likely Utah. And the Fall Fest burns down and Fiona dies. Edwin told Fiona not to go to Fall Fest, but she went anyway and she died. It was a big tragedy. Edwin was really sad. And so soon after Fiona dies, Edwin is in the basement of Murray's Costume Manor, and he hears something. And he's like, oh, what's that? So he goes down to investigate it. He moves all his shit down there, like his whole workshop and everything, to investigate this sound. And he ends up discovering that, oh my god, it's my wife. It's the ghost of my wife. And so I believe that he was either working on the mimic, or he started working on the mimic because he discovered that his wife was down there. But so either way, he was working on the mimic when Fiona's ghost ends up possessing the mimic, or M1. And this leads to M1 being an incredibly successful mimic. I'll phrase it like that. Basically, because M1 has Fiona possessing it, that's what I believe. That's the reason that M1 was a much better mimic than M2. So M1 is able to basically just become Fiona. So the first mimic just acts like his wife. It talks like his wife. It does things like his wife. And Edwin believes that, yes, that is Fiona, which is weird. Edwin, come on, man. I get it, you're down bad, but there's no reason to be that down bad. So Edwin, because he is so busy working on the Fazbear project, he has M1 take over babysitting duties for him. So M1, Fiona Mimic, is now watching David. It becomes David's babysitter. David doesn't like this. David doesn't like the Mimic. David thinks they're scary. And David really wants to play with his dad, really wants his dad to do stuff with him, but David is a shitty father. Not David, Edwin is a shitty father. And Edwin is like, David, no, I'm too busy right now. You can go play somewhere else. Go play with the Mimic. David doesn't like the Mimic. David thinks the Mimic's scary. I think I already said that. One day, it's David's birthday, and Edwin is really busy, and he is working on making a really cool birthday party for David. Consequently, this means that David can't hang out with his dad because Edwin is too busy. And so Edwin says, David, go play with the Mimic on the playground. And this playground is conveniently located next to a shipping depot or a highway. I don't know. In the book, it's a highway. In the game, I believe it's next to the shipping depot. Either way, David Murray gets run over. And David Murray is killed by possibly a purple car. Foreshadowing, if true. I don't know what he's killed by. I like the idea that William Afton killed David Murray, but it wasn't out of spite. It was on accident. He's just like, oh shit, oh fuck, what have I done? Oh shit. But like secretly he liked it, and he's like, oh wait, actually this is awesome. I like being a killer. Anyway, David dies, and so M1 goes to Edwin and is like, Edwin, you need to make our family whole again. Edwin, please, you need to make our family whole again. So Edwin starts working on another Mimic, and this Mimic is not as smart as as M1, mainly because I don't believe David possesses M2. I don't think, like, M2, Mimic 2, knows about David and learns about David through different memories and stories about David. But I personally don't believe that M2 is David. I think that M2, well, I'll get into that in a second. So because M2 doesn't really act like David, Edwin sees it as a monster almost. Edwin like has like this realization where he's like looking down at his hands like, what have I done? And he becomes Father of the Year and beats the shit out of M2, breaks its legs off, because he's like, you're not David, you can't be him, and I don't like him. I think this makes M1 mad or sad, I don't remember. It makes M2 furious, dude. M2 becomes evil as fuck. So this leads into the events of Secret of the Mimic, where we play as Arnold, a Fazbear technician, and Fazbear hasn't heard from Edwin in a minute. So Fazbear sends Arnold to go to Murray's Costume Manor and just get the Mimic blueprints. Somehow they found out about it, and William Afton's like, I need that shit. So they send Arnold to Murray's Costume Manor, where he has to traverse the whole building, evading the Mimic, or M2, and finally get the Mimic blueprints. As you'll see throughout the game, M2 is incredibly violent and is like killing people and stuffing them into suits. Foreshadowing. You're doing amazing. Aww. So Arnold does all this shit. Again, I haven't played Secret of the Mimic, so I really don't know. I know the lore, but I don't really know what happens in the game. So I'm just going to skip over that. We play through the whole game. Arnold encounters the Mimic. And the ending, there are a couple endings. One of them, Arnold has to basically comfort M2 and make M2 into a little boy so the Mimic can shapeshift. And in this ending, the Mimic becomes a small little boy shaped animatronic. And Arnold has to interact with this book and basically teach M2, like, no, M2, you are David. This is how you have to act. Then you put M2 to bed. But I don't think that's a canon ending. I think the ending that's canon is the one, I forget the name of it. It's the one where you escape Murray's Costume Manor, and you have the data diver with the Mimic schematics, and then M2 is somehow in your van or on your van, I don't know. The Mimic snuck into your car, and basically as you're leaving, the Mimic beats you up, causes you to crash, steals the thing with the Mimic blueprints, the data diver, and walks off into the forest and disappears. And then we don't see the Mimic for a really, really, really long time. But evidently, William Afton somehow came into possession of the Mimic schematics, which I will get into in a little bit. But you might be wondering what happened to M1. Edwin turned M1 into F10 N4. Is that what it is? F10 N4. It's this big supercomputer that is Fiona. Fiona is possessing a supercomputer that is in Murray's Costume Manor, in the basement, I believe. Anyway, to preface the next couple parts, I'm gonna say I believe in the Faz Burger, I think that's what it's called, where Faz plot, where all of the locations are built on one plot of land. And William Afton inherits or takes over Edwin Murray's house because Edwin is evidently dead, or he ran away, we're not sure. Oh, I didn't even talk about that. Mimic M2, because he's so mad, he goes up to Edwin's office and gets revenge on Edwin for beating him up. So he blows up Edwin's office. Evidently, he blows up Edwin's legs. Like, Edwin can't walk because he's like, oh, I can't feel my legs. Help, somebody help. And then Edwin is nowhere to be seen in the rest of the game. So I don't think we ever actually see Edwin in Secret of the Murray, or Secret of the Mimic. But yeah, M2 gets his revenge and blows up Edwin Murray. So Edwin is probably dead. And Fiona is left in the basement of Murray's Costume Manor. And then, what was I talking about? Fast plot? Yeah. So William inherits, or takes over Edwin Murray's house, because it's a house on a hill, and it looks like the same house in the FNAF 4 menu screen. And it also has ties to Security Breach and Ruin, which I'll get into in a little bit. But, or probably a lot bit. I don't know how long this is going to be. So yeah, every Freddy Fazbear location is built on the plot of land where Murray's Costume Manor is. So at some point Henry Emily is William Afton's friend, and he was, or like accomplice basically. They both work together to really destroy Edwin Murray and take over Murray's Costume Manor and like steal everything from him, because it would help them with their Fazbear Entertainment, whatever. So some time passes, and it's 1983, and Fredbear's Family Diner is open. That's the one that is predominantly featured in FNAF 4. Fredbear's Family Diner has the Spring Bonnie suit and the Fredbear suit. They're both Springlock suits. Edwin Murray designed Springlock suits, by the way. It's like the thing that kills William Afton, but that'll be later. So it's 1983. William has 3 children, the crying child, Michael, and Elizabeth Afton. And in 1983, Michael Afton is being a little shit, and he does not like his brother. I believe that William forces Michael to be crying child's babysitter, and so Michael resents this because he's like a teenager, I think, or he's like 12, I don't know. He's young, and he doesn't want to be his brother's keeper. But William is like abusive, and he probably is like, if you don't watch your brother, I'm going to fucking kill you. So throughout the events of FNAF 4, Crying Child is tormented by Michael Afton, and at the end of each night in FNAF 4, Crying Child, you play like a mini game style game where you're going through a day in the life of the Crying Child. Each day, Crying Child gets bullied by his brother or scared. Like the first day, he's locked in his room. I think the second day you get to wander around the house, and then Michael jumps out of behind the TV wearing the Foxy mask, and it scares you. Third day, you're at Fredbear's Family Diner, and you get scared by Fredbear because Michael dropped you off there and then just left you there and went home. Real class act, brother, honestly. Yeah, Michael leaves you there, you cry. And then day 4, I think you're at Freddy's again, or Fredbear's again, but you can leave Fredbear's, and then you go walk around the neighborhood, and you get to interact with all these kids, and they're like, why are you so sad? Why are you crying all the time? Don't you know the party's for you? Then the 5th day, it's your birthday, and Michael Afton and his group of cronies, they pick up the crying child, and he is really sad, and he is crying, and they're like, I think the little man wants to give Fredbear a kiss, and Crying Child's like, no, please don't do it. And they're like, yep, here we go. And so Michael Afton and his friends pick up Crying Child, Crying Afton, and they take him and they put him into the mouth of Golden Freddy, or Fredbear, I mean. And because Fredbear is a Springlock suit, he's prone to failure due to water. Guess what? The Crying Child is crying. And what are tears? They are water and salt. And so the Crying Child is crying so much that his tears cause the Springlocks in Fredbear's mouth or jaw area to fail, and Fredbear goes and crushes the Crying Child's skull in front of Michael. Then you get a fade to black, and there's text where it's like, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm so sorry. That text is from, I believe, Michael Afton, and then it changes to, we are still your friends. Do you believe that? I think that those are the voices of the missing children, which I'll get into. And then it's like, I will put you back together, which I think that is William Afton talking to his son. Like, I will put you back together somehow, which I don't know. We'll get into that. We'll get into a lot of stuff. I think I'm getting ahead of myself too. So this is all happening in 1983. I don't believe William has become like a murderer yet. I don't think, not yet, but Crying Child's death is what inspires him to become a murderer, or like kind of gives him the info he needs to be like, wait a minute, maybe I should start doing this. So William, this is hard to explain. In FNAF 4, Crying Child, in each of those games, he has this little plushie. It's a little Fredbear plush. Mystic Friend, Psychic Friend Fredbear. This little plush has glowing white eyes like a possessed animatronic, which you see in like FNAF 1 and FNAF 2. all those animatronics have these little white dots in the black void of their eye sockets. And that means they're possessed. So this little plush is either possessed, or some people think it's like a camera and William is talking to his son, crying child, through this plush and like manipulating him and all this stuff. That'll become more prevalent in a little bit when I talk about sister location. Either way, there's something up with this plush. Alright, so we talked about FNAF 4. It takes place in 1983. In 1983, so that's when Crying Child dies. And Crying Child ends up possessing Fredbear or Golden Freddy. I'm pretty sure they're one and the same. So I think William finds out about possession either because Crying Child possesses Golden Freddy, or some people believe that it's because William Afton, when he took over Murray's Costume Manor, he discovered David Murray has possessed the Tiger Rock costume in the basement of Murray's Costume Manor. And the Tiger Rock costume behaves the exact same as how Golden Freddy behaves in all the games. And so the idea is that William Afton discovers that. He also discovers Fiona, and Fiona's like, help me put my family back together, and all this stuff. And Fiona tells him about all this possession, blah, blah, blah. And then William discovers David, and he's like, wait, this is the perfect possession. Like, the powers that David has is awesome. And so the reason that William would be talking to Crying Child on the plushie is that William wanted Crying Child to die in a similar way to David Murray. So when Crying Child dies, he possesses the one thing that he loves the most, which is Fredbear. He's scared of Fredbear, but at the same time, he really, really likes that plushie. He takes it everywhere, and it's like his only friend, basically. So he ends up possessing Golden Freddy, and it's a similar possession as David Murray with Tiger Rock, that was David's favorite plushie. So that is what probably inspired William to be like, wait, I want to research Remnant and Agony. And I guess I should talk about Remnant and Agony. Remnant is like your soul, is like soul bound with metal. It's like a liquid metal that has like people's souls in it. And then Agony is like trauma that is bound to an object. So, like, what can I describe Agony as in the real world? Let's say your phone was your most favorite thing in the entire world, and then you died a horrific death. I believe Agony is like you imbue your agony when you die onto your phone, and then your phone becomes a haunted memory of yourself. And so I'm guessing that Fiona told William about Remnant, which is like I believe it's the main thing. I don't know if they knew about Agony, but Remnant, where the soul will become bound to metal. So like Crying Child also possessed Fredbear because he died in the jaws of the Fredbear suit. So he possesses Golden Freddy because he died in that suit. Either way, William's like, wait, this is fucking sweet. I love killing people. What was this guy doing? And so then 1985 rolls around. William's been plotting. Actually, wait, no. In 1983, William also kills Charlie Emily, Henry Emily's daughter, as a crime of opportunity. She's left alone. Somehow she gets trapped outside, and this happened at the most popular Freddy's location. So this is the same one that I'll talk about for the missing children's incident. But there's a security puppet there. It's a puppet from FNAF 2. And that puppet is supposed to look at different wristbands and keep each child safe and each wristband's a different color. So Charlie had a special one that Henry made so that the puppet would protect her. Like, basically she had priority over other kids. These kids put a box on top of the security puppet's present box that it hides in, and it couldn't escape. And so when Charlie is locked outside, the security puppet can't get out of the box to go save her, and William kills her in the alley next to the Freddy's location. The security puppet goes outside and it falls down on top of Charlie Emily, and then she possesses the puppet. So she is one of the first possessions, and I think William, in my mind, William already knew about possession by then. So, like, it was kind of a surprise that she possessed the puppet, but at the same time, it was probably more fuel for him to commit the missing children's incident, because he's like, look at that, 2 successful possessions, like, in a row, basically. He's like, I'm on a fucking roll. So 1985 rolls around. William lures 5 children to Freddy's over the course of multiple days. I believe one day he lured 3 to the back, so 3 of them were killed on the same day. And he stuffs their bodies into the 4 main characters: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and then the Golden Freddy suit. So first 3 kids are killed on a certain day, and then Susie, the Chica kid, is killed separately. She's killed after her dog dies, and somehow William knows about that. He probably killed her dog, and so he's like, she's still alive, come with me. And then he kills her and stuffs her into Chica. She possesses Chica. And then the last kid, I believe, is the one you should not have killed, or the vengeful spirit. And this character is most likely named Cassidy, and she is killed in a more violent manner. I believe she's stuffed into the Golden Freddy Springlock suit, so the Fredbear suit, and she is killed by getting springlocked. And that's more violent than the other 4 kids, so she becomes very vengeful. She's like, what the fuck? Why did I get killed so evilly? Like, what the hell? She also possesses Golden Freddy. So Golden Freddy has the crying child and the vengeful spirit possessing it. So it's a dual possession. So this happens in 1985. I believe this leads to the most popular location, that 1985 location, getting shut down. The main four, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and then the Golden Freddy suit, are left to rot and they become withered. 2 years later, they reopen a new Freddy's location. This is now FNAF 2. So they reopen a brand new FNAF location, and they now have these new state-of-the-art animatronics, which are the toy animatronics, which they have been, the toy animatronics are retrofitted versions of the, I don't remember, I don't remember what the theory goes. Either, I'm going to keep it simple and just say that the withered animatronics are the animatronics from the missing children, the MCI location, the 1985 location. So the withereds are haunted, and then in the phone calls in FNAF 2, we hear that they use parts from the withered animatronics to make the toy animatronics. So this is coming back to Remnant. So the reason that the toy animatronics are possessed is that they took parts from the withered animatronics, which were from the MCI, and they put them in the toy animatronics, basically meaning that the toy animatronics also have the souls of the missing children in them. So they're split because they're fragmented souls. So the toys are possessed. It's like the same possession, basically. You take one piece of a puzzle, you put it in a new thing, and then that new piece takes control of the rest of it. I can't think of an accurate thing. just know it deals with Remnant. Like souls, Remnant can be split apart, and souls can be split apart. So like the toys have a fragment of the soul that is in like a withered animatronic. So that's why the toys and the withereds are all trying to attack you during FNAF 2. Well, that's not exactly why, but that's why they are violent and they walk around, they're possessed. And you can hear in the phone call, the phone guy, Ralph, is like, he's like saying, like, this is a new problem. Like, them walking around is a new problem, and they didn't used to do that. And so my thought is that we hear about the first week's night guard and how he was moved to the day shift, and all of this started when he became the night guard. Well, as you see in the FNAF 2 minigames, the purple guy, William Afton, has a security badge on his chest. So the thought is that the first week's security guard was William Afton. William Afton, for some reason, became a security guard and a night guard, and he commits the DCI, the Dead Children's Incident. And this makes all the current animatronics really mad. What am I trying to say? So, during the course of his first week, he kills 5 new children in the location, and he leaves their bodies by the toy animatronics. Some people believe that the DCI kids, they possessed the toy animatronics, but I believe in, I don't know the name of the theory, but the one where it's because the remnant is fragmented and they have a fragment of a soul possessing them from the missing children. And so William, though, he takes this as the DCI was a success and that he was able to make another 5 kids possess these new animatronics. Anyway, he commits a DCI. He kills 5 more kids that night. That riles up all of the missing children animatronics, and they become really mad. And so they start attacking William as the night guard. And he reports to Safazri, like, I can't work the night shift anymore. I gotta do something else. They're trying to kill me. They're like, what the hell? So they hire you, Jeremy Fitzgerald, to be the new night guard. And you are getting attacked by the animatronics because they still think you're William. Remember, they are children, and not saying that children aren't smart, but they're also dead children. So in their mind, there's really no difference between you and William Afton. So William gets moved to the day shift. Let me make sure. Yeah, William gets moved to the day shift, and you are the night guard throughout the week. You survive the whole week, and you get moved to the day shift on your last day. The last day that location, the 1987 location, is open, Withered Foxy bites down on your skull while you're the day guard, and Withered Foxy commits the bite of 87, and he severs your frontal lobe from the rest of your skull. And you, as Jeremy Fitzgerald, become... I don't remember if you die or not. I don't remember if Jeremy dies. But I know he's the victim of the bite of 87. Another thing that happens is... What else? So, phone guy tells you that somebody used one of the suits, a yellow one that was in the back, one that wasn't supposed to be used. Maybe I was getting it mixed up. But I think that the idea is that the phone calls in FNAF 2 are happening day of. So all that you're getting told is current events. So evidently William used the yellow suit. What I said can still work. I guess they found out that William used the the Spring Bonnie suit that was in the back of this location, They found out because it was moved. They're like, somebody moved it, somebody used it, and they're freaking out because that's bad. No one was allowed to use those. We find that out in FNAF 3. No one was allowed to use those suits. And so they put the building on lockdown, and I believe they fire William Afton. That's why you have to become the day guard, is they fire him. And they're like, don't let any former employees into the buildings. They're not allowed. So William's fired. He's blacklisted because they suspect maybe he did something. Then that leads to you being the victim of the bite of 87, and you die. Somebody named, I think it's Fritz Smith, is the night guard on the 7th night, and I believe that Fritz Smith is probably Michael Afton. Like, Jeremy, I think, is his own character, and is the Bonnie bully, I believe. But Fritz Smith is Michael Afton, and he's all grown up, and he somehow finds out about... Anyway, Michael Afton goes to the location, and then he works one night, and he gets fired for tampering with the animatronics and odor. We'll get into why Michael's tampering with the animatronics in a second. Now I'm going to talk about FNAF 1. So FNAF 1 takes place in the 90s, early 90s, probably 1991 or 1992, I want to say. They found it out because of the pay stub and the dates. Anyway, in early 1990s, a new Freddy's location opens, and it is decrepit, and it is like the last hurrah from the company, and nobody likes it. It's all gross. The location's small. It's like a shell of their former selves, and they took the withered animatronics and retrofitted them into what we see now, which are the classic animatronics. So the classic animatronics are still possessed by the missing children, and they still have the memories of William being a night guard, and so they are hostile towards any night guards. So Michael Afton can't get work anywhere else, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but Michael decides to work at this new Freddy's location as the security guard. This location, I believe, is only open for a week. Maybe it was a couple weeks, but you get phone calls from the same phone guy that was in FNAF 2, and throughout the week, Michael has to put up with these animatronics. And I mean, there's not a whole lot of lore in this, and a lot of this stuff about Michael being the security guard is speculation on the community's part. But yeah, so Michael is the night guard in FNAF 1. I think he's working there to kind of make peace with his brother, his younger brother, who is Golden Freddy. And so during the week, when you encounter Golden Freddy, you'll see "It's me," and I believe that is Crying Child telling Michael, like, "Hey, it's me. This is your brother. It's me. Like, I am in Golden Freddy." So Michael works the whole 5 nights at Freddy's. He survives. He gets fired for tampering with the animatronics and odor again. So Michael is tampering with the animatronics because he's trying to set the souls free. Somehow he knows about the souls that are in the haunted animatronics, and so when he gets caught tampering with them, it's him trying to set the missing children free and set things right, because he feels incredibly bad for what he did to his brother. So am I missing anything else about FNAF 1? FNAF 1, we hear the death of the phone guy. He dies because he sucks at playing the game. He's killed by Freddy Fazbear. FNAF 1 is where we found out about the missing children's incident. There are these posters on the wall that'll become newspapers that talk about how someone in a yellow suit, or someone lured 5 kids to the back room and he killed them there. And then they say he was arrested. And people think that's a retcon, but it can just be waved away by saying that he was accused and then charges were dropped because there wasn't enough evidence, and they let him go. So I don't think that was a retcon by Scott. But if I'm missing anything else about FNAF 1, let me know. I feel like it's the like least talked about game in all of the like series in terms of like lore theory videos. Probably because Scott made it without really knowing that there would ever be another one. So it's kind of its own game. It's like a closed loop. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Sister Location next. Because I don't know where it falls in the timeline. I feel like the best spot for it, well, it probably falls prior to, it can either fall before FNAF 2 or after FNAF 1. And then in between FNAF 1 and FNAF 3. But so the date of Sister Location is kind of unknown. But Michael Afton is instructed to go down to the Sister Location, the Circus Baby bunker. Wait, let me start this off different. William Afton. So I think this takes place after FNAF 2, now that I'm thinking about it, because William makes his own entertainment company called Circus Babies Entertainment, or Circus Babies Pizza World. And I believe he did this because he got fired and blacklisted from Fazbear's, and he was like no longer the CEO. So he makes his own company because he's still like, I want to do this stuff. And this is where I think Mimic Tech comes in. So he designs the Funtime animatronics, which the Funtime animatronics most likely operate off of Mimic Tech, because Circus Baby has the same chip inside of her as the Mimic does. Or not the Mimic, but I believe we get a Mimic chip out of like Helpy and Help Wanted 2. And so that's why people are like, oh my god, this Funtimes are Mimic Tech. Anyway, Michael is told to go down to the Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals location, which is an underground bunker. And I remember people being like, where is this place? They thought it was under William Afton's house, which is most likely true, because Circus Babies is probably Murray's Costume Manor, like the underground part of it, the basement part of it. That probably became Circus Babies because William Afton became the sole owner of all of that land, everything that Murray's Costume Manor was. So he tells Michael, go down to the Circus Baby place and put your sister back together. So Michael does that. He goes down to the bunker and he becomes a technician, basically. So he plays through 5 nights at Circus Babies. They should have called it that. Each night it's a completely different game. Like, it's not like a sit and survive. It was like a big departure for the series. You're going around, you're doing tasks and stuff like Among Us. Michael encounters Circus Baby. Now, Circus Baby is like the first animatronic that we've ever heard speak in the entire series at that point. So she can speak full sentences. And everything's articulated, and she's really smart, and she's conniving. And so Circus Baby, over the course of the 5 nights, she tricks Michael into letting all the Funtimes become Ennard, which Ennard is all of the Funtime animatronics combined into one mega animatronic, basically. They all become one organism. And they do this by getting scooped. So there's this machine down in Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals that you put a animatronic in front of it, and it will scoop out the animatronic's insides, and it'll basically melt them down into their, I want to say it melts them down into their remnant. So this is where like Remnant became a thing, was around this time. So yeah, anyway, all the Funtimes get scooped, and then when they become scooped, they're like freed of their carapace. They're freed of their outer exoskeleton that they wear. And so they're on the inside, they are just these big mangle of wires that like can move on their own somehow. And so they become entered. And on the last night, you deal with Circus Baby, and you get her ready for the scooper. And then you take out this chip out of her head, and this is that mimic chip I was talking about. You take the chip out of her head, and I'm guessing that she takes it with her, so she can keep acting intelligently and speaking intelligently. And so they become entered, and then at the end of that night, you as Michael Afton are put into the scooping room, and you get scooped. You get fucking killed. Circus Baby killed you. And that is a really big twist, because guess what? Circus Baby is Elizabeth Afton. That's his sister. That's why William told him, go down there and put her back together, because that's his sister. And there are those lines again, I will put you back together. So it's like a Afton tradition. Like, you got to die and then you got to get put back together. I don't fucking know. So before Circus Babies went underground and became a bunker building, it was, I'm guessing that it was an above ground establishment on the Faz plot. And it was only open for a day. And on that first day, Elizabeth was killed by Circus Baby. Now, William had told Elizabeth never to go see or talk to Circus Baby, because Circus Baby was designed to kill children. Like, that's the only reason it exists. It was designed to kill children when one children was alone. So, like, Circus Baby, during its first day of operation, was in a room where it was performing. There was a bunch of kids in there. And Circus Baby, the whole time while performing, was counting how many kids were in the room. And all the kids left, because I'm guessing they said, there's pizza in here. So all the kids left except for Elizabeth. And Elizabeth gets killed by Circus Baby. And Circus Baby, like, her stomach opened, and this claw came out of her stomach and grabbed her and pulled her inside. I believe that's where it killed her. And we know that it is Elizabeth inside of Circus Baby, because before Circus Baby is possessed, she has blue eyes. And then when she's possessed, she has Elizabeth's green eyes. So William got another one of his fucking kids killed because he's a shitty father. And I think it was probably, like, he was probably fine with this. He was probably like, yeah, cool, more possession. So William designed the fun times around the mimic technology. So all of them, I think, have mimic technology. That's why they're, like, so much more advanced than any other animatronics. They were also able to, like, mimic voices, and they had, like, their own AIs, which none of the other Fazbear animatronics had at the time, except maybe the puppet, but the puppet was probably also mimic technology. So William used the mimic blueprints to make the Funtime animatronics, and these Funtime animatronics also have the remnant of the missing children inside of them, which I will talk about in a little bit. But anyway, Ennard escapes because they take over Michael's body. So Michael's body is scooped. Now, in the scooping process, the scooper will inject remnant into whatever is scooped. So this will become important in like a couple seconds, because Ennard takes over Michael's body and they wear him like a skin suit. It's fucking disgusting. And I remember the ending, one of the ending cutscenes in Sister Location is Michael, like, leaning into a mirror, and he's like this, and his eyes open, and they're Ennard's eyes. And I remember, like, I think I was in middle school, I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. So Michael is now a skin suit for Ennard. And at the end, I'm not sure where we get the cutscene of Michael walking down the street. But there's a cutscene where Michael Afton, the purple guy's son, he's walking down the street, and he's got Ennard inside of him. And he's walking down the street, and he's seeing all his neighbors. All his neighbors are like, what's up, Mike? What's up, Mike? And they're waving their hands at him. And it's going through, like, multiple days. So Michael starts out normal. He's all good and dandy. He's looking fine. About halfway through the cutscene, he's green. He's looking a little sickly. His hair's falling out. By the end of the cutscene, Michael is purple. Michael is actually a purple guy. And he vomits Ennard out into the sewer. So for some reason, Ennard's like, we can't be a purple guy, so they go and escape into the sewer. Michael collapses to the ground, and we're all like, oh my god, he's dead. He's got to be fucking dead. He's purple and he's dead. Plot twist, Michael stands up, and he is not dead. He is actually a living purple guy. And so this is why I was saying that Michael couldn't find work anywhere else outside of these Fazbear establishments or these shitty jobs, because he's purple, and he's a rotting corpse, and he smells. But Michael basically, because the remnant was injected inside of him when he got scooped, he possesses his own body. So Michael is alive, and that's most likely why he's going to these locations and trying to free the spirits. Is like, when he was down in the bunker, he learned about possession and all that, so he's like, wait, this is fucked up, I gotta free these kids. So that's why Michael goes from being the bully to a hero within the story. So all that happens, and so the game, so I'm so conflicted on where I want to say it is in the timeline, because like with some of the theories, it has to take place after FNAF 2 or after FNAF 1, but then that kind of takes away one of the motives for Michael to be the protagonist in all of, or in a protagonist in all the games. Like, he's a protagonist in FNAF 1 and 3, and then he's a protagonist in the third day, or the last day. Actually, maybe, no. You know, I'll say it happens after FNAF 1. I don't know. I will come back to where I want to place it. But so time passes, where this is post FNAF 1. It's 2015, and people are like, okay, let's make a horror attraction for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Like, I guess urban legends had formed around Fazbear Entertainment and all these killings and deaths that happened there. So a guy makes a horror attraction called Fazbear Frights. Or is it Fazbear's Fright? I think it's Fazbear's Fright. And so Michael Afton hears about this. He's like, this might be a pretty good place to find my father. And now you might be wondering, why is he trying to find his father? Well, when you get the good ending, it's pissing me off. When you get the, how do I make this not look like that? That's probably fine. When you get the good ending in Sister Location, the final cutscene you get is like a view into a burning building, or a burnt building, and you hear a monologue by Michael Afton where he's like, Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. He's like, they were right where you said they would be. They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then again, they thought I was you. I put her back together. Now I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you. I think that's how it went. I'm going to say that's a pretty good recitement off the top of my dome, because I haven't heard that in like probably a couple months. So that's, you get the gist. That's basically what he said. He's like telling his dad, like, all right, I did it. I'm dead now. Yeah, he said something about like, I should be dead, but I'm not. Yeah, somewhere in there he said that. So he's like, I should be dead, but I'm not. So the fuck? So he's like, I'm going to come find you. A lot of people took that as he's like mad now and he's going to come find his father and kill him. I kind of like that idea because it makes the stories a little more interesting. But at the same time, there's like not a tone of anger in his voice. It's more like he's just going to come find him. He's just going to go see what's up. So the idea that if Sister Location takes place before FNAF 2, then he is going to all these locations trying to set the children free and find his father, because his father has been missing now since he told him to go into that bunker. Which I'll get into that in a sec. So he goes and works at this Fazbear Frights, or Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction, as the night security guard, because they need someone. So on the first night, nothing happens. You hear a tape from a phone dude because he's like a surfer dude now. He's like, "What's going on, man? I'm the phone guy," or whatever he says. And Michael's working at this location, and the second night rolls around, and the phone guy's like, "Dude, we found one, a real one." They found an animatronic. So they went into a back room of an abandoned location, and they salvaged an animatronic. You'll never guess who it is. William fucking Springtrap Afton. He's shown up, he's at the location, and so William Afton is this Springtrap. So Michael finds his father, and over the course of the 5 nights, he has to survive his father because his father is trying to kill him. And so the only animatronic in this game that can kill you is Springtrap. There are phantom animatronics in the game that will show up that Michael hallucinates. They'll show up and they'll disorient him, which allows William to get to the office faster. And so Michael's trying to juggle resetting the audio system, the camera system, and the video system. Oh, no, I already said that. And the ventilation system. And if any one of these systems kind of goes down, a phantom is probably going to appear. So Michael he fights William. He keeps William away from the office by playing the balloon boy, hello, and his laugh is hee hee hee, or whatever. And that makes William go towards the sound of the child, because the spring-locked suit that he is in is in animatronic mode. And those suits were designed to go towards the sounds of children. So William is not powerful enough to override that. So he turns around and he goes towards the sound if you're quick enough to play the sound when he's in a room. So Michael survives all 5 nights. At the end of the 5th night, he burns down the establishment. He's like, fuck this shit, fuck you, Dad, I hate you. And he burns it down, thinking that he's finally killed his father. Well, in the end of game newspaper, we see, dun dun dun, if you brighten it, William Afton, his eyeballs there, he's still alive. Plot twist. So there are some mini games that are going on in this game. I don't think they can happen during the after night segments, but if you want to get the good ending, you need to play all of them and beat all of them. There's like different things you have to do during the nights. Like you click on a picture of Balloon Boy. I think you play Balloon Boy's quest. Anyway, you play all these video games, these mini games, in order to complete the Happiest Day mini game. Where in the Happiest Day mini game, they're throwing the birthday party for the crying child that the crying child never got to have. So the good ending is they set up Happiest Day, the puppet does, and they throw the birthday party for the crying child, and when the cake candles are lit, all of the souls disappear, and they're wearing these Freddy Fazbear, like different character masks, and the masks fall to the floor, except the puppet's mask falls to the floor slower. That's because the puppet's work isn't done yet. But I believe Happiest Day sets the crying child free. So crying child is free of Fredbear, or Golden Freddy at this point, but Cassidy, the vengeful spirit, is not. Yeah, so trying to think. I didn't talk about any of the mini games from FNAF 2 or the night gameplay of FNAF 4. So kind of explaining the phantom animatronics. One thing you discover about sister location is there's a private room, and in this private room there's a keypad, and if you put 1983 into the keypad, the cameras show the FNAF 4 house. And in the sister location the custom night game, there is a bunch of gas canisters everywhere and pipes for moving gas around. So, oh, also in the private room, there is the psychic friend Fredbear plushie next to either a remote or a walkie-talkie. And this room is what William Afton used to monitor these test chambers. So I'm going to talk about a FNAF book now. I'm getting way into it. So there's a FNAF book called Didophobia, and in Didophobia there's a kid. He's trapped in a loop where he'll get up to do something. He's always groggy and he's always got brain fog. And he always like tries to do something, but then he can't. And he's like, I guess I'll just go back to sleep. So he goes back to sleep and then he repeats and does it all again. He is stuck in a nightmare chamber that is run by William Afton. So William Afton kidnapped this kid using the fun times, put him in this chamber where he will have nightmares about the Freddy's animatronics, and then he'll wake up, try to do something, go back to sleep, have the nightmares again, and do this all over again for an infinite amount of time. The gas that you see in the private room of the sister location is a hallucinatory gas. It's like Scarecrow's nightmare gas. Basically, it causes people to see the nightmare animatronics that you'd see in FNAF 4. So, because Michael killed his brother, people think that Michael was put into a nightmare chamber, which is that the FNAF 4 house that you see in the cameras in the sister location. And then Michael basically had to do the nightmare chambers. That's why he's the one that you're playing as in FNAF 4's night game mode. And so he's hallucinating the nightmare animatronics, and this is a punishment for killing his little brother. And so this is why he listens to William, is because he's now like terrified of William. And he also probably hates William because of this. This is probably why he's like, I hate my dad and I want to kill him. So that's why he would have the motivation to burn down the establishment and try to kill his father, as his father was abusive, put him in the nightmare chambers, and forced him to play FNAF 4 for a really long time. FNAF 4 is scary, and I'm not good at it. I'm not good at listening to the sound cues, so I would not want to be put in Michael Afton's shoes. Alright, where were we? Just finished FNAF 3, so that's in 2015. Soon after that, Michael possibly gets into contact with Henry Emily, William's old business partner, and he's the father of the puppet, Charlie Emily. Or William gets into contact with Michael. Henry makes a fake Freddy's location, the final Freddy Fazbear Pizza. And this is taking place during the game Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. So you really could say that this game is somewhat of a pizzeria simulator. During the course of the week, Michael, he has to, he's the manager of this Freddy's location, so he's really moved up, man. He's gone from night guard to he's a manager now. That's pretty good. That's what I call success. So Michael is the manager of this Freddy Fazbear, so he gets to design the pizzeria tycoon style. Then during the night segment, he gets to work on tasks like printing papers, printing posters, buying plates, buying toilet paper, a bunch of menial stuff on a computer. And he's in this box where there's a computer in front of you, and then either side of you are these big vents. The gameplay is you turn your head to look down the vent and listen for animatronics that might be hiding in the vent system. And if you hear one, you got to turn everything off. You got to stop everything that you're doing and turn it off. And you flash a flashlight down the hole to kind of scare them away. On the computer, there's like different audio lures that you can use around this like maze of a vent system that the animatronics are in. And so the first night, there shouldn't be any animatronics down in there. So Michael works his first night. There's no animatronics there. The third thing that Michael has to do, his third duty, is salvage all the animatronics that show up in the back alley. So in the back alley of Freddy's, I think the first night he discovers Molten Freddy. So Molten Freddy is entered. Yeah, Molten Freddy is entered. So entered shows up at the doorstep of the back alley, and basically you are sitting in a chair across from Molten Freddy, and there's a table in front of you. There's a cassette and a piece of paper, and you're hearing William or Henry give you instructions to play an audio prompt and then see how the animatronic reacts. And so you play the audio prompt, you see how it reacts. If they don't move, you're good. You do it again, they move, you shock them. I think you can only shock them 3 times before they lose salvage value, which is important for the tycoon part of the game. But Michael has to salvage all of the animatronics that show up on his doorstep. So each night there's a different one. There's a total of 4. So I think the first night is Molten Freddy. The second night is either Circus Baby or Lefty. The third night is either Circus Baby or Scrap Trap, and the fourth night is, I think, either Circus Baby or Scrap Trap. It depends on the order they show up in. You can also buy Lefty for $5 in the Tycoon store, and that'll put him into the pizzeria. But if you salvage him, you get a bunch of money, and it's also free. So you might be wondering, why is Circus Baby different than Molten Freddy? Well, Circus Baby got into a fight with the rest of Entered, and they kicked her out. And holy voice crack. People found this out by looking at the fucking source code of scottgames.com and seeing like, holy shit, there's like a little conversation in here that's being had. And it was between Circus Baby and the rest of Entered, and they were like, we actually don't want to listen to you anymore. Get out! So they kicked her out, and she became her own entity. This is possible. She still talks, and she's still like smarter than the rest because she probably still has that mimic chip. She probably took it with them, and the rest of Molten Freddy, none the wiser because they're stupid and they're idiots. I hate them. Yeah, so Scrap Trap is William Afton. And he doesn't look anything like Springtrap. This actually now can be explained. Prior, people just thought that Scott sucked major ass at making animatronic and people designs. So this can actually be explained now because Secret of the Mimic exists. This is getting ahead of myself, but there's a guy named Glitch Trap, and it's like a digital version of Springtrap. Glitch Trap is a cloth suit of Springtrap. So the idea is that the Glitch Trap suit actually existed. It probably didn't look how it looks in Help Wanted because that's like a more abstract version of it. But the idea now is that because the Springtrap suit got destroyed, William's corpse, he possesses his own corpse the same way Michael does. William went to where he stashed the cloth suit and is now using that as his animatronic suit, or as his cover, because William feels more powerful in the Springtrap suit, or in the Yellow Rabbit suit. And debate me all you want, I don't think, but if I remember correctly, there's no animatronic parts on Scrap Trap. It really is like it's a cloth suit. Also, William Afton underneath looks goofy as hell. I will not deny that. He does look silly. But at least the difference in his suit can be explained now. So William Afton is there. And then the last one, I believe, is Lefty. And Lefty looks like Freddy Fazbear, a Rockstar Freddy. But he's black, and he is missing an eye. And one of his eyes is like just the white possessed eye. Well, if you look at some of the seams on Lefty, you will see black and white striped limbs. Lefty has the puppet inside of him. So Henry designed Lefty to trap the puppet. I guess the puppet has been kind of wandering around. I don't really know. I guess all these animatronics have been wandering around. Anyway, well, Actually, there's a dark secret to that I might get into, but this video is already an hour and 10 minutes long, so we'll see if I really want to dive into the deep end with this. Anyway, all these animatronics have been lured here. You got the missing children in Molten Freddy. You have Elizabeth in Circus, or Scrap Baby is what she's called now. You have Charlie Emily in the Puppet, or Lefty, and you have William in Scrap Trap. And because Golden Freddy is not there because the puppet set him free with Happiest Day. So everybody is there except the Vengeful Spirit. I don't think the Vengeful Spirit was there. I don't think Golden Freddy ever shows up in this game. So, I guess I should talk about Molten Freddy. So this is why I couldn't really place sister location, because in FNAF 3 there's a mini game called Follow Me, where William every night goes back to I think it's the FNAF 1 location, so the one you play in FNAF 1, and he takes those animatronics, lures them to the safe room, and he destroys them. And the reason he's destroying them is he's going to melt them all down into the Funtime animatronics. So every night he's taking them away, he breaks them, takes them back to the bunker, and makes the Funtime animatronics. And that's why Molten Freddy has the missing children's spirits inside of him. Oh my god, I didn't even talk about how William becomes Springtrap when I was talking about FNAF 3. Let me talk about that. So at the end of Follow Me, William goes back to the location one last time. I'm guessing it's to get his yellow Bonnie suit. But when he shows up, the spirits are there. They are like manifested ghosts. They used all their power. They're so mad that they became these little beings that he sees, and it scares the shit out of him. So he starts fighting them. He gets really scared. He's running around, and you're chasing him. You're scaring him. William puts on the Springtrap suit, the spring body suit, because he has it in spring lock mode. You'll notice around the room that there are water drops falling, and William Afton is laughing. He gains all the confidence in the world when he puts that on. He's no longer scared of the spirits. The water from the ceiling and his laughing movement causes the spring locks to fail, and the spring Bonnie suit closes around him and crunches all of his organs, his whole body, and he dies in the Springtrap suit. But because the Springtrap suit has agony in it, or no, Remnant, William is able to possess his own body. So William repossesses his own body. I think he's possessing his body. I don't think he's possessing the suit, but he's possessing his body. That's why he's basically he's still wearing the suit, but that's why the suit also can control him and take him away and follow the audio lures. Yeah, that happens at the end of Follow Me. That's why Molten Freddy has the MCI kids in it. I cannot believe I forgot to talk about William getting spring locked. I completely glossed over that. I mean, this is what happens when you don't script a video. This is all off the dome. I'm going completely off the dome. I got nothing. I can literally show you. When I'm looking up, I'm just looking at this parking lot. So I got nothing. My phone is really hot. So all the souls that need to be there have been lured by Henry. Henry is fucking pissed, yo. So end of the week rolls around. Michael survives everything. Circus baby Elizabeth Afton is like talking like, you don't know who your employer is, blah blah blah, you've been tricked, we're gonna kill you now. And then she says, I will make you proud, daddy. I actually think that she thinks that Michael is William and doesn't know that William is Springtrap, and William probably never told her, because William doesn't give a fuck about Elizabeth. But Elizabeth is trying to gain her father's trust, so she's like, I will make you proud, Daddy. And then Henry chimes in and he goes, connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, but I'm afraid you have been misinformed. And then I don't remember the rest of the thing. I would do the whole thing if I could, but oh, wait a minute. Then Henry goes, connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you even remember that name, but you have been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the one you believe you have been called, but you indeed have all... I don't know. I give up trying to recite that. Anyway, Henry gives like the best speech in the entire games. And at the end of it, he says a crucial thing. He says, and for my brave volunteer, there was a way out planned for you, but I have a feeling you are right where you want to be. That gives more credence to Michael Afton being the like manager at this Freddy's location, because Michael wouldn't want to live after this. He wants to be done. He's a walking corpse. He wants to be done. Also, William said when William kills you, if you die, he says something like bittersweet but filling or fitting or whatever. So he knows who he is. Or he's like, you may not recognize me at first, but it is me or something. I don't know. I'm so good at getting the first half of these lines and I cannot remember the rest. But also, I probably could have done it like an hour ago. I'm just too fried. My brain is just too... It's just too used up right now. But Henry sets the place on fire. There are burners all over the location, and the entire facility burns down. Henry is killed, Michael is killed, William is killed, Baby is killed, Puppet is killed, MCI is killed. They're all set free. Now before I move on to Ultimate Custom Night, which I'll get into, William does not get set free. He is on his way to hell when the vengeful spirit, who also was not set free, intercepts him and forces him into purgatory, which I'll talk about in a sec. But let me talk about the mini games in FNAF 6. So, way long at the beginning of the video, I was talking about the missing children and how we know that Susie was killed separately from the rest of the missing children because there's a mini game where you play as Susie, who's playing a game, and as you're playing this game, things are changing, and you're seeing a yellow rabbit pop out of the ground. You're seeing a dead dog. Like, I don't know what I could compare this game to. It's kind of like Pac-Man. It's like Pac-Man, basically. And some of the stuff, the things you're collecting, are changing into the yellow rabbit and a dead dog and something else. By the end of the game, you hear a car horn, like going meep, 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 meep. And in the lights of the game flashing when you get a level up, you see the reflection of Susie, and next to her head is Springtrap, William Afton, in the yellow Bonnie suit. And he tells her, your dog is not dead. He's still alive. He's over here. Come with me. That's why people think, that's why I think Susie died separately to the rest of the children. So I forget what that one's called. Then you have the security pub mini game, which is where I got my info about how Charlie Emily dies. What I said is basically word for word what happens in that game. That's telling you how Charlie dies. You have... There's another mini game, like mini game that has lore, but I can't remember what it's called. There's a big one though. I can't remember if there's 3 or if there's 4. Basically, these games are telling us how the missing children, these mini games are telling us how the missing children's incident happened. And then you have the big one, the one that everybody talks about, Midnight Motorist. Now, the main part of Midnight Motorist, you're just driving a car, and on your final lap, there's a little opening in the top of the screen that's like this big. You drive your car up through it, and you start the Later That Night minigame, where you are in a purple car. Talk about subtle. And it's rainy, and you're driving home. You have the option to stop at a place called Junior's, which is either a bar or a Freddy's location. You also can stop at a mound, or it's like a patch of dirt that's different than the rest. I will go over what I think those are in a second. You can visit those places. I want to say they're optional. It's been a minute since I've played it. Then you go to your house, where you encounter a gray person and a son that you can't find or can't get into his room. And then there's footprints in the backyard. Animatronic footprints. So this is what I believe is going on. This is a theory I heard recently. Who came up with it? Who did I hear it from? I want to say it's Gibby's Horror Homestead. But I will voice over who it is actually if I'm wrong. Anyway, in this theory, it goes that the mound is not a mound. It's just a patch of dirt where William buried his cloth bodysuit. So the glitch trap suit is buried on that mound, or in that mound. Junior's is just a bar, and you are just drunk. Orange guy is not William. Orange guy is just a father of a MCI victim. You go home to gray person. Gray person is probably your wife or someone who lives at your house, and you as orange person are just an abusive dad. And you go to talk to your son, and you're saying, oh, he's run off to that place again, he will be sorry. There are footprints, animatronic footprints in the grass next to the window. People will be like, that can't be William, that has to be Golden Freddy, or that has to be Shadow Freddy, because the Springlock suit would fail in water. William is not wearing the Springtrap suit. He's wearing the cloth Bonnie suit. He lures this person's son back to Freddy's, where he kills them. This takes place in 1985. Later That Night has nothing to do with Charlie Emily's death, because you're not playing as William. Green guy at the bar is just a bouncer. And so, like, William lures this kid because he doesn't want to be at his house because his father's abusive. The kid escapes his house, and he goes with William, who's in the cloth Bonnie suit, to Freddy's, where William kills him and stuffs him in a suit. William then goes and buries the cloth Bonnie suit in the middle of nowhere. And then, when William's Springtrap suit gets burned in FNAF 3, he goes back to this mound and gets his cloth Bonnie suit and puts it on to his corpse so that he feels more powerful and more confident. And I think that theory works really well, because the rest of the minigames and the rest of the lore in that game is telling us how the missing children incident happened. It's just, we didn't have enough knowledge. We didn't know that there was a cloth suit at the time. We didn't know that was a possibility. I think that's a failure on Scott's part, just making it a little too ambiguous. But that's what I believe. I think that makes the most sense. I kind of like that better than it being William, because then it's like, why would there be an animatronic at the house luring either Michael or crying child away? You're jumping through too many hoops in a game that's supposed to wrap it up. So I think that's what I think Midnight Motorist is. That's why, that kind of in my mind explains why William looks different in FNAF 6. And everything about the minigames and the game lore is wrapping up the first 6 games. So that was the first 6 games of Freddy's, including Secret of the Mimic. Then they had Help Wanted. Help Wanted happens after all of this. Fazbear Entertainment is somehow still around. And they hire a game designer named Steve Snodgrass to take these urban legends and stories and make them into the FNAF video games. So the games are canon in in the games. So the games exist in the games, in the game continuity. So Steve Snodgrass makes these games, and you are a playtester of these games in Help Wanted. You find these tapes around the different games, and they're glowing and they're purple. And each tape that you collect reveals more lore about what's going on in this game. And it also reveals Glitch Trap. He will be in the lobby area, and he'll be waving at you and beckoning you to the back. When you collect all the tapes, Glitch Trap will give you a birthday party, I think, at the end, and then you die or something like that. So this is important for Security Breach, which I'm gonna be like out of my depth because I also really haven't played Security Breach, but I know a little bit more about Ruin because that's a much more straightforward game, and I've listened to people talk about it. This part's gonna be shoddy because I really am not too versed with the new lore. But so Glitch Trap is, in my opinion, is an agony manifestation. So it's not William. Glitch Trap isn't William Afton, but it's like the memory, the agony memory of William. Like all the agony that William created became this agony being that mimics William Afton. And so Glitch Trap, in my opinion, is not William Afton. It is William Agony Afton. So it's like kind of a beast. And it mimics what William is doing. And so the reason that it's an agony thing is that these, like, in order to get all this info, Fazbear Entertainment like scanned a bunch of hard drives, and they put these hard drives into their game, and these hard drives had William's agony, and that's why Glitch Trap is an agony being, is that it formed and became a digital version of William Afton. William, there's a chance he maybe possesses it, but you're getting into a territory of like Palpatine somehow returned type stuff. So I like to think that it's just William's agony. And this agony forms Glitch Trap. So Glitch Trap takes over the mind of one of the playtesters. We find this out through those tapes you collect. The playtester's name is Vanessa. This will be big news in a second. So Vanessa's mind gets taken over by Glitch Trap, and she becomes a servant of Glitch Trap. Now, moving on to Security Breach. This is the first game, I guess like the second game, that really wasn't made by Steve or Scott, because Scott retired at this point, I think. So Security Breach takes place in the far future. I think it's like the 2030s. Fazbear Entertainment is back to being like a multi-million-dollar company, and they've designed this place called the Mega Pizzaplex. The Mega Pizzaplex is like a big Freddy Fazbear's, but it's a mall, and you have 4 main animatronics. You have Freddy, Chica, Roxy, and Monty. So it's Monty Gator and Roxanne Wolf, and they're the glam rock animatronics. And one thing you'll notice is that their animatronics look really, really, really similar. Like their endoskeletons look really similar to the Mimic. To the Mimic. What's going on? And so these animatronics look like the Mimic, and they kind of act like the Mimic. And so I'll get into that in a second. Go back to Vanny. Vanessa is the security guard at the Security Breach location, the Pizzaplex. Vanny has been kidnapping children and taking them to the basement and performing agony or remnant experiments on them. And so the main premise of Security Breach is we play as a little boy named Gregory who doesn't seem to know anything. He's like lost his memories. And all of the animatronics go haywire, except for Glamrock Freddy. Glamrock Freddy goes into safe mode, and he takes over... Or no, my brain is disappearing. Glamrock Freddy helps Gregory try to escape the Pizzaplex. So Gregory and Glamrock Freddy become really good friends. Gregory is able to hide inside of Glamrock Freddy in his stomach cavity. Big news for Funtime animatronics lovers. Stomach cavity mentioned. Vanessa the whole time is trying to catch Gregory because Gregory is not supposed to be there. Over the course of the game, Gregory defeats the rest of the Glamrock animatronics. Like, he kills them, basically. He destroys them with the help of Glamrock Freddy. I think at some point Glamrock Freddy loses his head, but I don't remember why. So there are a bunch of endings to the game. I'm going to talk about the main one. The main one is there's a boss fight with Burn Trap. So Burn Trap is apparently William Afton, and Burn Trap is like, I don't know, he's supposed to be like a weird William. Like, it's like Springtrap's head with the ears, but he doesn't have a jaw. He has William's like human jaw. His body is like a Glamrock endoskeleton looking thing, and he's got 2 different legs. All right, some people think that he's the Mimic. I don't think he's the Mimic. I don't know what he is, and Scott has said he wasn't supposed to move. But because he wasn't really that hands-on with the game, he didn't really tell Steelwool that. So Steelwool just took like his cryptic info and did what they thought would work, which in all honesty, it makes sense. Based on the other games, having William be the final boss, that makes sense. I get why they did it, but it's kind of a shitty ending, the main ending. Anyway, you fight Burn Trap and the Blob, which I'm not even going to talk about. I don't even know what the Blob is. I'm not even going to talk about it. It looks like Molten Freddy, but like massive, like huge. The Blob might be part of... I'm getting ahead of myself. You fight Burn Trap, and when you beat Burn Trap, I think you set Vanny free. I know there's a ending where you set Vanny free, and that's the canon one, I think. Either way, you fight Burn Trap. Burn Trap's in like this pod where it's full of like gas. This gas is probably Remnant gas, and I think Remnant's able to heal. Someone said Remnant was able to heal, so I'm going to run with that. And the reason Vanny is kidnapping kids at the Pizzaplex is she's using their agony, or their remnant that they're making with the scooper to heal William and make it so that he can actually use his Springtrap body again. What else happens in Security Breach? Like a really, really, really quick summary of what happens compared to all the shit that's in that game. Fiona Murray might be there, like the F10N4 machine might be there. In the form of a Mexus machine. You see a bunch of these wires all around the Pizzaplex that look like the puppet's arms. And so the thought is that the Mexus machine, which used to be Fiona, is in charge of the entire Pizzaplex. And like, she's so like corrupted by William's agony and everything now that she will stop at nothing to rebuild her son David and her family. And so she might be the Blob, or the Blob might be part of that system. If I think anything else, I'll come back to it. But the canon ending, I think Gregory and Freddy's head set Vanessa free from Glitch Trap's control. And then the Pizzaplex crumbles and gets destroyed and is left to rot. Some unknown time later, Gregory's friend Cassie shows up to the ruined Pizzaplex, and I guess Gregory lured her there with a walkie-talkie saying, I need help, you need to come help me. So she goes into the ruined Pizzaplex and tries to find Gregory. She completes all these tasks and she completes all this stuff, and she finds the Mexis machine. She fights the Mexis little rabbit things. She finds this mask, this AR Vanny mask, and she puts on the Vanny mask, and I think it puts a chip in her brain so she can it augments her view, but she's able to phase through objects with this AR mask somehow. This AR mask probably has glitch trap in it, or part of the mimic in it, I don't know. But she puts on this mask, and she's using this mask to get around the ruined Pizzaplex, get past obstacles and all this stuff. Eventually she encounters Roxy, and Roxy recognizes her. Roxy's all destroyed, but in this game, Roxy's a good guy, and Roxy is helping Cassie escape. I'm skipping over a lot with this because this video is really long, but Cassie at the end of the game reaches the basement of the Pizzaplex, where she finds the mimic. This is the first time we've seen the mimic, but the mimic was trapped down there. Guess what? It wasn't Gregory luring her to help him. It was the mimic, and the mimic was mimicking Gregory, and it tricked her and was like, you gotta come here and you gotta set me free, you gotta help me, Cassie, please come help me. Get tricked. It was the mimic, and the mimic then tries to kill Roxy. One of the endings of Ruin has the mimic go into a room. You trick the mimic into going into the room with the scooper, and so the scooper grabs the mimic and pulls it out of the costume that it's wearing, and evidently it kills the mimic. This is probably not the canon ending. This probably doesn't happen. But the real ending, Cassie is chased by the mimic and gets to the elevator that she used to get down to that basement. And then she's going up the elevator, and then Gregory over the walkie-talkie says something like, we don't need you anymore, or I don't want to see you anymore, or something like that. Mind you, that's probably not Gregory. You get little hints that it's not Gregory throughout the game, where over the walkie-talkie, you'll hear Gregory again, but he won't sound like the Gregory you've been listening to throughout the game. He'll be like, Cassie, you gotta get, and it'd be all gargled and go away, and he's telling you gotta get out of there, that's not me, and stuff like that. You don't hear the full messages, so she's not sure. But the mimic Gregory is coming through just fine. The mimic Gregory comes over the radio and says, Cassie, we don't need you anymore, or something, and then the elevator drops and Ruin ends. And then the next game that came out after that would be, I think, Help Wanted 2, and then Secret of the Mimic. I really don't know anything about Help Wanted 2 other than Helpy is probably the mimic. That game kind of explains that, the little Helpy bear that you see all the time is probably the mimic. There's a couple games you play, the Princess Quest games in Help Wanted 2. At the end of the Help Wanted or the Princess Quest games, you get a Bonnie mask, and so the thought is that in Help Wanted 2, you're playing as Jeremy Fitzgerald, who is Cassie's dad, who is the Bonnie bully. Bunch of hoops to jump through. What else? We also think that Helpy's the mimic because you get that same little chip out of Helpy that you get out of Elizabeth or Circus Baby. I think that's it. Up until this point, that's probably it in the story. The next Freddy's game is probably going to be Security Breach 2 or maybe Sister Location 2. I really hope Sister Location 2 I think would be really cool. I think it'd be really cool to visit the bunker again. and see all that. I think that would be really cool, because then we're getting into like the part I liked Sister Location. I really liked those animatronics, and I liked that kind of separate story about the Aftons. I like that stuff. That would be cool. People used to think the next game was going to be called FNAF Abyss and it'd be dealing with Cassie, but I don't think the next game is going to deal with that yet. It'll either be Security Breach 2, Sister Location 2, or maybe like a Secret of the Mimic 2. Yeah, I kind of hope for a Sister Location 2. I don't know who the protagonist would be or when that would take place or what it would be about, but it'd be cool to visit the bunker again with like a free roaming, like a ruin style game. So it's like a linear free roaming game. I'd really like to see something like that. Let me know in the comments what I missed. Tell me any of your gripes with how I retold the story of FNAF. I'm like exhausted. My brain like hurts now. It's a lot of remembering. This was completely off the dome. Like I said, I got nothing. When I'm looking off, I'm imagining in my head what like I'm talking about, and I'm like looking at this Walmart parking lot. So yeah, like the video. I don't know where I'm gonna post this. I'm guessing YouTube or TikTok or something like that. So like and subscribe, or like and follow, or do all that. Might make more FNAF videos in the future. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of talk about the entire lore and just see how much I know. I think that a lot of what I think is probably contradictory to what a lot of other people think. I'm gonna probably be called a LARPer in the comments. I don't gaff. I listen to so much FNAF content that I probably know more than a good majority of the people that would call me a LARPer. I just subscribe to more out there theories, I think, because I like them a little better. I like when it's something niche. But yeah, this is a really long video. I don't know if I'm gonna edit this at all or what. Call me a chud in the comments. That's about it, I think. I might do this again. Maybe I'll come up with my own theories if you guys want me to. Some of this might have been my own headcanon too, but I think I kept it rather factual, like factual in terms of theories that are accepted now. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And just have a Freddy Fazbear-tastic day.